Good morning, slightly later risers, I might say today. Change in location, as you can see. I thought it being the 50th day of lockdown, I ought to report from somewhere a little different. So, into the kitchen. Yesterday was a shopping and supplies expedition day, and a very good day it was too. Yesterday was also the day on which Britain, post-Brexit Britain, in fact, announces, however they calculate the figures, that they have the second highest COVID-19 death toll in the world. In the world, only beaten by, and when you think about the size of the two countries in relation to each other, only beaten by our friends, our partners in the special relationship. That special relationship between two of the nastiest people in the known world. That relationship between one white racist and another orange stroke white racist. The second after the home of the brave and the land of the free. Da 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 da. After America. Yay! And everybody's clapping for America. Oh, don't you just want to make America great again? Don't you want to hear Trump say, China, China, China? Anyone good at doing a Trump impersonation saying China? China virus. China virus. Can you put that on a loop? I just want to keep hearing Trump saying, China, China. Yeah. So, second highest death toll in the world. Well, you wouldn't think that meant a great deal, really, when you looked at the newspapers and the media and whatever. Watch Chucky Marks run down for what's in the press headlines on YouTube. He's always good. He goes through them every day, and I do like that. I find a lot out from him. But really, after the second highest death toll in the world has been announced from COVID, you'd expect sort of different kind of headlines, wouldn't you? But we can't have defeatist talk in the press. No defeatist talk. I say, if you started publishing those figures, do you know what you'd do to the jolly old Brits? Well, you'd really depress them, wouldn't you? And we can't have the people of Britain, we can't have the workers in particular who are going back to work soon, depressed. Good news is what they want. Good news is good for morale, isn't it? Yes, good news. Otherwise, talking about death, talking about people dying in agony and suffering, and the NHS only able to cope because it had to cancel lots of routine stuff, just managing to cope. But we don't want to talk about that. We're looking forwards to the broad, sunlit uplands. Oh, so Churchillian. I'm amazed that Boris hasn't used the broad, sunlit uplands yet. Yep. He hasn't used it, but he will. And let's face it, if we publicise we are really second in the world in terms of COVID deaths, and we already are near enough 30,000 reported deaths, yeah. But if you actually read the Financial Times, and anybody with any sense understands that that's ridiculous. By now we have most likely well over probably 55,000 deaths. Well, if you look at that, I guess you might get a bit depressed. So what do the media tell you instead? Well, they tell you about where Ollie Murs has been putting his willy. Oh, do you want to know about Ollie Murs' willy? I don't know. Ollie Murs. Can we hear more about where you put your willy? And what did you do to your girlfriend, Ollie? And not only do we want to know about that, we want to know about knock, knock, trousers down. I'm off to meet my mistress. Oh, yes, that's why I had to resign, because I did a bit of bonking. And there are people all over the country. There are Tory MPs dying to meet their mistresses, and they can't, because the country's locked down. And if they're locked down, even if they pull their trousers down, they've got no one to put it in. Hancock and Tone. One night in WanCock. Hancock and Tone. Ridiculous. Damn right that people were outraged. Damn right. What an arrogant little man. What an arrogant, patronising little man. And where does that come from? It comes from the sense of entitlement that is all about being a Tory. It comes from the sense of, I'm superior to you. I know everything. I can even tell you, another MP, how to talk. It comes from headmaster sitting behind the desk there and going, Jones, don't you jolly well take that tone with me, or I'll get that cane out and give you a damn good thrashing. Do you hear, Jones? That's where that comes from, yeah. It comes from that good old British Etonian ruling class elite feeling, yeah. So that when you hold the government responsible, oh, and yes, they are responsible for these deaths, yeah. They are responsible. You get a bit of a comeback, a little bit of a put down with how your tone is perceived. She made a good response, though. One of the few people there, yeah. Stamina. Come on. The man's a joke. Like somebody said in a meme I read, that loads more people could in fact die, but Stamina would probably offer some constructive criticism of the government's policy. Stamina, it's new Labour, don't you understand? Yeah. I mean, let's be constructively critical. Yeah. So, yeah, Tory-friendly Stamina, in all honesty. We've got no opposition. Piers, are you getting better yet? Right, what else is on my list? Oh, yeah, another big one. Coroners told you're not allowed to consider no PPE when there's inquests into people who have died dealing with COVID patients, people who've died in the NHS, carers and all that lot. You can't consider it. Yep. You're not allowed to. That's a bit like saying when there is an inquest into a death that happened because a lorry rolled down a hill, bounced off a few parked cars and crashed through the wall of a shop, killing the person behind the counter, you can look at everything, coroner. You can even examine whether or not the driver had a heart attack. You can look at the opening and closing times of the shops. You can look at the width of the road. You can look at the speed limit. You can look at the road conditions. But excluded, you are not allowed to consider the maintenance history of the lorry and whether or not the brakes had been serviced. By the way, that's based on, well, at least the incident was real. Yeah. So, yeah, isn't that great? Yeah. You're not allowed to. Why can't you do that? Because there wasn't proper PPE provided. And the government is sodding negligent. And they've contributed to these deaths. But don't worry, because we'll just make it so the coroners are not allowed to look at that. So there you go. Grieving families are going to have a factor within their loved one's death ignored. Yeah, just ignored. Not even recognised by the system. Just ignore it. Ignore it. We are living under fascism. Fascism, I'm telling you, we are living in a fascist state. Front pages I've already talked about. Okay, getting near the end now, okay? Are you ready to unlock? Are you ready for the second wave? Are you ready to send your kids back to school where the teachers don't even have any idea on what they're going to do for PPE, whether there even will be PPE, how many will come back at one time, how are they going to maintain any kind of social distancing with sort of 7, 8, 9-year-olds? Yeah, but are you ready to do that? Are you ready to send your kids back? Because that's where we're going to try it out, yeah? Are you ready at the moment for a track and trace app that has got as many sort of holes and security flaws in it as something produced by the White House that went wrong? Yeah, are you ready to do that? It's terrible, frankly. And the government are already setting out scapegoats. And don't forget, folks, when it's back to business as normal, and those of you that now won't have jobs will be on 24/7 job search, yeah? You will be expected to find a job within so many weeks, otherwise all of your benefits will be stopped, yeah? Don't forget those dying in care homes, which is like the rapidly expanding part, yeah? Where there are more and more deaths going on. And look at it this way, yeah? The early removal of lockdown, as somebody once said, will be like a person saying they jump out of a plane, the parachute opens nicely at the correct altitude, their descent begins to slow. It's all looking cool. And the guy wearing, or the woman wearing a parachute goes, "Oh, that's great. The parachute has slowed my descent to an acceptable level, so it's time to take it off." Are you all ready to take off your parachutes? Because very shortly, that's what you'll be doing, and that's what Boris wants you to do. He's giving you a plan to take off your parachutes, how you should do it. It's all going to be described before you reach the ground. It's going to be described on Sunday. So tune in. Don't miss Boris's big plan for lifting lockdown. Bye.